Alright, let's clear some more books off my shelf. Hi, my name is Paige. Welcome to my Clear My Shelves Novellas edition. So in this vlog, we are going to be reading 5 novellas. If you haven't already checked out my shortest books that I cleared my shelves with, I will link that video in the cards, and you can watch me get my TBR shelf down from 145 to 140. So we are starting with 140 books on my TBR shelf, and we're going to try and get it down to 135 this time. We're continuing on with the theme of reading the shortest books that I have, and I decided to go ahead and get some of my novellas out of the way. I have quite a handful of them, and I just would like to read them, put them onto my red shelf, and grab some new books from there. So I'm excited to get to all of these, and let's talk about them, I guess. So in this, we'll be reading A Mirror Mended by Alex E. Harrow. This is the second book of the fractured fables or fractured fairy tales. I read book 1 for my book club in December and really enjoyed it, and immediately wanted to pick up this one. So I'm excited to be able to carry on with the series right from the start, and super duper short. I feel like this one has to be 128 pages, so it's even less than 130 pages. So I'm excited for another fairy tale. So I don't have book 2 of the Murder Brought series, but to get to Road Protocol eventually, I need to read, is it Artificial Condition? And I have the ebook for that. So we're going to be reading Artificial Condition, I think. I could be wrong. Whatever the second Murder Brought book is, and I might try and squeeze in Rogue Protocol because this was sent to me by a lovely friend of mine, and I want to read it soon and catch up with the Murder Brought series. I'm super duper far behind, but you'll be seeing the ebook version, whatever book 2 is, in this vlog. And if I can squeeze this in, we'll fit this one in too. And then maybe I'll get down to 134 books. It'd be great, right? I'm also planning to catch up with the Wayward Children series as much as I can. So I have book 4, 5, and 6. I do also have book 7, but I don't have the audiobook on anything. I can't find it on Hoopla or Scribd. I can't find it on Libby yet. So I'm waiting for that one to come out before I pick up book 7. So in the meantime, we are actually going to read these 3, which I'm super excited for. I've been really enjoying the Wayward Children series. But I will say that I have already started and finished In an Absent Dream. In this one, we go into a portal world and we follow a character named Lundy who is in book 1. But I will let you go back in time and watch my thoughts as I was reading this book. I've heard good things about this one. Somebody, I think in one of my comments, said that this was their favorite of the Wayward Children's series. So I am excited to get going into it. I don't think I'm going to listen to a lot of it tonight because it is almost 11 o'clock. And I'm trying to make my sleep schedule not be so terrible. So I'm gonna probably end this around 11:30 or so. But I want to at least get started in it, and I will let you know how I feel maybe at the end of the night. So in this next clip, you will know my initial impressions. I want to keep going, but I just finished part 1 and it's 11:45 and I need to be responsible and try and go to bed right now. But the end of part 1 really intrigued me. I almost teared up actually, just because of a small little line that happened in it. But I want to know what's gonna happen next. This one's super fun already. Super fun, kind of confusing, but I'm enjoying it already. So I'll pick this back up probably tomorrow if I have some time, and we're gonna finish it out in one sitting tomorrow or the next time I read it. But I do want to keep going. Okay, go to bed, it's time for bed. I feel like I look a little bit like a 70s serial killer, but we're gonna ignore that so that I can tell you about In an Absent Dream. I think this might be my favorite of the series. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed going into this world. So if I didn't already explain, maybe I did. I'm just gonna repeat myself. But this is following Lundy, who was in book 1, and I totally forgot about her. So it's following Lundy's story as she finds a door that takes her to the Goblin Market. And when she's there, she has a lot of rules that she has to follow, but something interesting about the market that she's in is that the doors open up frequently for her to go back to her home world. And that's all I'll say from there. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so fun to be in her mind and figure out some of this world with her. There are some pieces that the book doesn't really dive down into, so there's a few time jumps that really could have been expanded on, but I feel like it was just the perfect amount of this story to get, and I had a really fun time. I really liked this one, so I give it 4 stars. It's kind of more like a 4.5. It wasn't quite a 5-star for me, just because it did drag a little bit at some points for it being a short book, but I still really enjoyed it. I had a fun time, so I'm definitely looking forward to picking up the next book in this series, which I think is another Jack and Jill. And I just want to know what happens with them. So that's all I'm gonna say here, and I will talk to you in whatever the next book clip I am recording will be. So on my TBR, I actually had Pet, which I realized was a novella, so I decided I was going to include it in this video and then promptly DNF'd it. So this was about what's her name? A character named Jam, and her mother is a painter, and like one of these paintings comes to life, I guess, and is like a monster, but they're living in a city that monsters were destroyed, or like there were no longer any monsters, and she believes that this painting is a monster, and that's as far as I got really. So I don't know what happened further than that, but I do know that this writing style just was not working for me whatsoever, so I decided to DNF this because of the writing style. I feel like the story itself would have been fine, and maybe I should get the audiobook to try it out and listen to it that way, but I've just always really had a hard time with like really detached writing styles. I don't know if that's the correct way to phrase that. I don't know the actual term because I did not take a lot of English classes, so I don't know these things, but like I couldn't understand the character at all. I just felt like everything was very surface level, and I have a really hard time understanding books like that and getting through the writing, so I decided to DNF this. So we're gonna include it in this video as a book that I got off my shelf, so it will change my numbers at the end, but I haven't read the other books in this vlog, so you will see what that number is by the end of it. But yeah, I wanted to include it, but I didn't get very far. I think I'm going to try in 24-hour readathon some of this. So I just looked it up, and it looks like Come Tumbling Down is about a 4-hour audiobook, and at 2 times speed, I usually get about 2.5 times speed with these books. It's going to take me a little under 2 hours, so that is really easy to get through. Then we have Mirror Mended, which on Scribd is just staying 3 hours. So I think I want to start with this one because I can get it done in about an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half. And then we have Artificial Condition, which is also another 3.5-hour audiobook. So I'm going to try and read these in the next couple of days. More like tonight and then tomorrow, which is Monday, and I will let you know how far I get into all of these. These next few clips might be a little scattered, but I'll try and string everything along in a way that makes sense. But I'm going to start off with A Mirror Mended and let you know how this goes. I'm so tired, but I did manage to finish A Mirror Mended, and it was so good. It was so good. I really enjoyed book 1, and I am not let down by book 2. It's just one of those books that has enough humor in it and enough heart in it that really just draws you in the entire time. I love the writing style. I love the jokes that are in there. I love the dialogue between the characters and the way that it turns fairy tales upside down sometimes, and I just had such a fun time. I don't know if it's quite a 5-star because it is so short. There's just not a lot of depth in some aspects, but in other ones there really is. So I'm a little torn on what I'm going to rate it. I'll have to plug it into Callpile tomorrow after I have a long sleep, but I just really enjoyed it. So I don't want to give too much away because it is a novella, so I will just say that this is our main character Zinnia from book 1, who gets sucked into the Sleeping Beauty world, and she doesn't really know how she gets there, but she is there because of the evil queen, and that is all that I will say. It was so fun, so cute, but also like heartbreaking at moments too, because our main character has a chronic illness that in book 1 she was supposed to have died on her 21st birthday, or like right near her 21st birthday, and in this one she still has her chronic illness, but she is really struggling with how her story is going to end and when it's going to end, and that's definitely a big theme in this one, of the way that different stories end and if we can accept our endings. It's good. It's so good. I want there to be more in this series. 100%. I will devour all of them. I really enjoy this writing, and I really enjoy Zinnia and her friends, and it's a good, this might be 5 stars. I think I'm talking myself up to a 5-star, but I had a good time. But I'm so tired and I need to go to bed right now. So I guess we will continue on with these 24 hours tomorrow. So I actually woke up today and started immediately reading, and I have now finished both of these books. So starting off with Come Tumbling Down, this one really, you have to read book 1, 2, and 3 to understand what goes on in this one. So it's like a continuation of all of the things that have been happening in those 3 books. So it's all strung together with a few details here and there, but it brings us, how do I do this without giving any spoilers? It brings us back to Jack and Jill and the follow-up of their story. And it was interesting. I really enjoy Jack and Jill's story. I enjoy their world. It's creepy, and I was the most excited for this one, but I'm not gonna lie and say that I loved it. It was fun, it was interesting, and I love that Shauna Maguire narrates these ones with Jack and Jill. At least I know she did book 2 and then this one herself, so like, you know, the exact way she imagined things to be read, the exact tone that she wanted the characters to use when they were talking to each other, and I really liked that part of it. But I just felt like this story was almost too bare bones, and because these are all novellas, there are some aspects to that in every single one of these books. It doesn't go as in depth on certain points as it could if it were a full novel. But in this one, I just felt like I was reading very surface level things. They did this, they went here, they did this next thing, they went here, this other thing happened, and now everything's resolved. So it wasn't my favorite. I'm kind of feeling like a 3 for this one. I just didn't love it as much as I expected to, and I was so eager to get back to the Jack and Jill storyline and everything that was going on in that one. So I'm slightly disappointed, but I still did enjoy it, and I am still eager to figure out what comes next in that storyline, if anything does come next. But then we read this one, Across the Green Grass Fields. And I am so confused by my feelings on this, because it is objectively the most boring of these stories, because it's basically following a girl that we have never met before. Her name is Reagan, and she is a horse girl. She loves horses, and during her like home life situation, she confides in her best friend that she is actually intersex, and her best friend does not treat her very well because of that. And so she finds her door like immediately after the situation and goes into a world where there are equestrian figures like centaurs and unicorns and other horse-like species here. And that's not something that like immediately intrigued me, because I am not a horse girl. I never really liked horses. I'm actually a little bit afraid of horses. I've ridden like 2 or 3 and they are terrifyingly tall. I don't like that. So I wasn't sure how this was going to go, but I feel like this book, out of all of the ones I've read so far, has really gone the deepest in the action that happens, has taken you from place to place, and not just vaguely written things in like one chapter like that happened in, what was it? Oh, the first book I read in this, In an Absent Dream, where you were in the portal world, but all of the things that happen were just summarized in a couple of paragraphs here and there, and those were all of the interesting things that you really wanted to go and follow along with and learn about. But I feel like we got a little bit more of that in this book, which kept me really intrigued, and I think overall I really enjoyed it. So shocked by liking this one, and I am eager to see where Reagan pops up. I think that she does pop up again in another book. I'm just not sure which one it is. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say besides I wasn't as in love with this one as I expected to be, and I like this one more than I expected to, so it really threw me for a loop here. But this one actually made me think back of a couple of other thoughts I've had while reading other books, because the parents in this one were not bad parents whatsoever. Like in a couple other ones, like, you know why the kid wants to leave and why they want to find a door, but the parents in this one seemed like really loving and caring parents, and it just kind of made me think that these portal world stories could also, like, for some characters be a way to explain why there are missing children or like unresolved mysteries of where children have gone. And I feel like you could use one of those storylines for a future book in this, which would be kind of an interesting concept where I think it's sometimes hinted in these books that the police are suspecting kidnapping and whatnot. So I don't really know how to explain where my thought goes with that one, but it's almost like a, for all the kids who have gone missing or have been kidnapped, like rewriting their stories of where they could have gone and like giving them portal worlds that they could have gone is like another interesting thing that I think of when I'm reading these books. I don't know if that makes any sense or even if I'll include that clip, but it's something that's always like in the back of my mind, like, oh, a way to like close up some people's stories even though they're like totally unsolved. I don't really know, but it's a random thought I get when I read these books, like imagining it from the parents and the society's point of view of like where these children go, and then they're just like in a world living out their best lives or fighting vampires or fighting centaurs or whatnot. So it's just kind of interesting. But I am going to attempt to read Murderbot now. I'm like on a roll with reading. I might as well try it out, see how far I get, and see if I can finish like 4 books in a day, because that would put me way ahead of some of my reading plans and that would be great. So we will check in very, very shortly. Change of plans. We're reading Where the Drowned Girls Go because Hoopla finally has the audiobook available, so I don't have to buy it anywhere. Alright, this novellas vlog is getting pretty long because I'm adding more and more books to it, but that's okay. They're short reads. I hope these clips are short enough for you, and I am going to read this now. I'm so excited. I've heard that this is like everyone's favorite, so let's go. I've learned why everyone calls it their favorite. This was so much fun. I was so invested in it from start to finish. So basically this one is a mystery. Cora is one of the characters that we meet in one of the other books. I don't think she was in book 1, but she's in book 3. I think she shows up in book 3 and we get to know her there, but she decides that she no longer wants to be at Eleanor West School and goes to the other school that's like the sister school for it, called Whitethorn Institute. Something Whitethorn. Whitethorn Institute or Whitethorn Institution or something, because she is having a lot of nightmares and just really wants to forget something that happened to her in the previous book. Not previous book, in Come Tumbling Down. So something happens to her in that book and she's really wanting to forget. And so we go on a mystery during this one at her new school because things are not what they seem to be. It was promised to be a school that helps these children forget and move on with their lives, but there's some strange circumstances going on at the school. And it was so fun to just go along for this ride, meet the new characters, and solve this mystery with them. I just really liked it. And I enjoyed that Cora is a fat character and she's not, I can't say that she's gone through some of the same things I have because I have never been bullied for my size ever. Like I've always been surrounded by people who just don't see that, and I never said anything negative to me, but her internal thoughts of moving through the world as a fat person, I really enjoyed reading that and relating to that and just having that representation in a story. So that was another pro for this. So this is definitely a really high 4-star, maybe 4.5 stars. It was so good. But I am going to attempt to read Artificial Condition tonight, and I think I'm going to call it a night for reading because I've been reading all day long and it is already 8:30, but Artificial Condition is only a 3.5-hour audiobook, and depending on how fast I could listen to it, it'll only take me like an hour, and then I can just do whatever I want for the rest of the night. Probably fill in my bullet journal with all of these reviews I need to write. So I will check in with you once I have finished Artificial Condition, and we will go on from there. So I finished both Artificial Condition and Rogue Protocol a couple of days ago, and I just haven't had the energy to sit down and talk about how I felt about them, but essentially they're both 3 stars for me. I don't know what it is, but I just cannot fully get into these Murderbot books. Even in the first one, I remember liking it enough, but not absolutely loving it like I expected to. There's just something that's missing in all of them, and I don't quite know what it is. I also think that I'm really struggling with the sci-fi content where it just gets very, very confusing for me what she's talking about sometimes, because you don't really get an introduction to the world, you're just plopped right into it, and Murderbot's talking about things that he knows about, that he is well informed on, so he's just using a lot of terminology and language that I never pick up on. So it hasn't been my favorite reading experience, but for the characters in it, I do find myself liking more of the relationships that way. So in book 2, Artificial Condition, did I just say conditioning? Artificial Condition, Murderbot is kind of teamed up with another AI, and I really like that other AI. So I liked seeing Murderbot, who's, I don't know if he's an AI, he's a robot, he's a security unit, so he's not quite a human. He has organic parts and he has non-organic parts, and he's basically just a machine. But him forming friendships was really funny because he doesn't want to be friends with anybody, but finds himself always becoming friends with people and hating every minute of it, but then also wanting to protect these people too. So it's just really funny to see Murderbot's dilemma on not wanting to make relationships and like finding himself in these positions where he wants to also protect people. But other than that, I don't love the books. They're just a little bit too much sometimes, and I think that book 2 and 3 had similar elements to book 1, so it all kind of feels the same. It's just like Murderbot in another stressful situation with another group of people. So I'm unsure if I want to continue on with the series, but overall it was fun, but not my favorite read. I don't know. I do like Murderbot overall, but I have to say, Art in book 2 stole my heart. He really did. But that means that I have finished all of the books that I wanted to read for this vlog, so let's wrap it up. All right, so what have we read? We have completed 4 Wayward Children series books: In an Absent Dream, Come Tumbling Down, Across the Green Grass Fields, and Where the Drowned Girls Go. We attempted to read Pet, but DNF'd this one. We read A Mirror Mended by Alex E. Harrow, and I'm definitely going to continue on with the series if there are more books in it, just like I will continue on with Wayward Children. And then we read Artificial Condition and Rogue Protocol. So that is 8 books that I completed in this vlog, which is really exciting. However, I can't count all 8 of them as coming off my TBR because I did not own Artificial Condition. I just had it on Kindle Unlimited. So we can count 7 of them being taken off my physical TBR, which brings us from 140 down to 133 books on my physical TBR. Feels like a huge accomplishment with just these books right here. Took me down that far. So I'm definitely going to be continuing on with this series. I have 2 videos that I'm currently in the middle of filming right now, so those should be out pretty shortly. If you would like to continue seeing me try and get this TBR shelf to be as small as I possibly can, please subscribe. I would love it if you would join us over here. And if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave me a door emoji, just so I know that you watched all the way through. But thank you so much for being here. If you want to chat with me about books, I have my Instagram and Discord linked in the description. But I think that's all that I have to say. So I will see you in my next video, which should be out very, very shortly. All right. Bye.